You're muted.
Mute. Hello, is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Awesome. It's been a while since we've been on. I've almost forgotten how to work everything.
I don't know how to work it anymore.
Yeah, technical difficulties and my key grip and what do you call it? Mic person. They're out on leave, so
Yeah.
we're all we've got.
On
So
vacation.
hello everyone. We're very happy to update you again at long last. It's been a while. It's been about 10 days since we've been on, but we're going to talk about a couple of things here. The subject of woke Inc. And so I think we all can kind of figure out, Nancy, follow the money. That's what we're accustomed to doing around here, figuring out, where everything's coming from. We serve the beast. We have a better chance of cutting off not only critical race theory, but we've also got a better chance of cutting off all these inappropriate aged gender studies, things that kindergartners are having to sit through now. And I know that parents, you're all worried about the masks. Very important. It's just, we really have a fire hose, people. We have a fire hose of just crap coming at us. And so we're going to stay with our eyes focused on what's going to happen after the mask debacle and pray to God that will end very soon. And so we're going to talk about tonight where the money's coming from and where it's going to in North Carolina in the realm of critical race theory so that we can go no holds barred. I mean, we're at the point now, just generally in America, but definitely in our schools, and I know everyone can feel it. We talk to dozens and dozens of parents every day that it's overwhelming. Again, the fire hose analogy is appropriate. And so I have another just kind of rallying cry that I want to give to you guys, and it's this: let's roll. We have to storm the cockpit, the proverbial cockpit, just like they did in Flight 93 over Shanksville. We're getting close to that time of year anyway, where we memorialize the 20th anniversary of September the 11th. But I'm telling you guys, it is now or never. We have to storm the cockpit. And that is why we will do whatever it takes to get to the bottom of some of the investigations we're going to tell you about tonight, because our future depends on it. They're counting on us to be, sidelined and quiet. We will not allow that to happen. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But first, we've got some breaking news. Nancy, you got some documents, discovery documents about Orange County and what they're doing there and how much they're paying. But first, I want to set this up a little bit with and what you have is unbelievable evidence. So let me just pull up right quick what we've got here. So tell us, while I'm getting this up, tell us what's going on in Orange County.
Well, a lot's been going on in Orange County. I don't live in Orange County, but I have been aware of it since I realized what was going on in my own school when I was following social media accounts and the network of anti-racists, et cetera, and tracked it to a person on the Orange County School Board who now happens to be president of that board, Hillary McKenzie. We all know Orange County has been in the news recently because an email went out with the possibility of them mandating vaccinations under EUA for kids who wish to play sports and be in theater and all of that, as well as many other.
Tell us a little bit about that, because like I said, we haven't been on. So tell us about what the heck happened there.
So an email went out from the superintendent, Dr. Monique Felder, PhD, of Orange County, to the parents, I believe, of Orange County schools, with a bunch of proclamations, basically declaring they were going to vote on these things on a Monday night. The email went out Friday, right before the weekend. And there was no explanation as to how she came up with these proclamations, essentially, except for a couple words about the ABC Collaborative, but just multiple, like I said, decrees, basically, for the students and employees of Orange County, including one which was, if your kid wants to participate in sports or extracurricular activities, although it's unclear if some of them were related to the school day or after school, like chorus or band, which can be during the school day, you would have to have your kid get the vaccine currently by September 7th, which is, as we all know, under EUA. So that's pretty controversial mandate to do. And there was no discussion with parents. They were going to have a board vote on this past Monday without any communication or open discussion with parents, without any input from parents. they were going to have, they allowed an hour for parents to ask questions in the chat virtually, but basically said, this is what we're going to vote on. This is what we're planning to do. I found it a very condescending, insulting email. I found it actually working contrary to trying to develop trust in vaccines, if that's your goal, by forcing it down people's throat without any discussion.
And in public health and in public education. So the trust is being broken all the way down on the line. And this sets the tempo and the tone for what we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah, I actually looked it up. There's some agency, I don't know if it's exactly related to the CDC, that's the immunization people of immunization vaccines or whatever, this committee. And in 2006, they released a letter that said, this is like the last thing you should be doing is mandating vaccines. And if you are going to mandate them, it should be after they've been FDA approved, after there have been weeks of market research done, and with like detailed communication, including the community, because otherwise we'll break down trust in public health. And so essentially, the Orange County School Board did exactly the opposite, decreed this stuff on parents last minute on a Friday without opportunity to comment. And the parents organized, they protested outside the courthouse. The meeting was held, and they, instead of doing the mandated EUA vaccines for extracurriculars, they substituted an extra COVID test, which I still think is fairly invasive, 2 tests a week. I'm not sure. I didn't look up the minutes or watch the meetings.
2 tests a week?
2 tests a week for kids participating in extracurricular activities who are unvaccinated.
So that kind of sets the table. I mean, what we have here, guys, is a just a flouting, right, of civil liberties and of rights. And so we're going to go right into what you're going to talk to us about with what's going on in Orange County. But first, I want to show you something that I just think it may serve as a bit of a just a helpful thing here that we can look at and see. Oh, I don't think that's a good one. Hold on one second. Because I want to show you the various entities that we're going to be talking about tonight. Because again, guys, there are a ton of people making a ton of money doing this critical race theory stuff. Tonight, we're going to talk about various people and various entities. We're going to talk about lobbyists, right? Because we've been talking about that. We're going to talk about people that are sitting on the school board making absolute wads of cash. These are good gigs if you can get it, right? And so the point is, we got to get our stuff together out here and make sure that people aren't getting it. Here's how it works. So when we're talking about the money, right, you'll see up at the top, this is how some of the money comes in for some of this stuff. So we've got the state, that means the state taxpayers. I think over 50% of the state's budget actually goes to education. And then you've got money coming in for the feds. That goes to the DPI. So the Department of Instruction or Public Instruction, that's kind of the piggy bank, right? That's where the money is dispersed. And it can go to usually consultants for teacher training. So the goal or the objective really with the DPI is sort of an administrator level, but they are absolutely in charge of teacher training pretty much writ large. The district does their own, but the state does their own as well. So what we have also, and then money goes into the districts, primarily from the feds as well, where these ESSER grants that we've been talking a lot about, they're going to come in through the DPI for use in teaching critical race theory and dispersed to the districts. So that's who's making money. Well, the state is making money, and the districts and the consultants, which we'll talk a little bit about. Now, we have a very interesting and distressing and utterly corrupt situation in the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, because Catherine Truitt's right-hand man, who bills himself as a Republican, is actually married to a lobbyist who sells not 1, not 2, but 3 products related to the social-emotional learning that is critical race theory, we know, and critical race theory itself. So we've got a special interest group that is right in there. We think it's an ethics breach that's right in there also getting money. So you've got a lot of people inside of the DPI getting paid and a lot of money going as a pass-through to the DPI. So Nancy, tell us a little bit about how this Orange County money is being spent.
Right. So around the same time that this all blew up with a mandate, a Freedom of Information Act happened to come through for me from Orange County, which was actually pretty complex. I asked for a lot of stuff. So Hillary McKenzie, the president of the Orange County School Board, has previously been on record on a public Twitter account, which is now, I think she stopped. I think she ended her account. I'm not sure. That CRT was not in schools. I've seen emails where she's lectured parents, not only parents, but parents who are lawyers, on how CRT is a legal theory and therefore can't possibly be in K through 12 schools, et cetera. And these parents tried to call her on it. They were able to find some trainings which involved Bettina Love, et cetera.
So this what we're seeing here isn't going on in schools.
Right. So this picture is so this is what I'm going to talk about. This is the organization. One of them is part of this whole network called We Are, which is working to extend anti-racist education, I believe, started by a PhD from UNC who is a specialist in her own words, in CRT, whiteness, and white children's racial identities. This is from a summer camp. She runs summer camps for children. This was publicly posted on their website. And if you see everything in a child's worldview, according to this camp, goes into or comes from racism. So I just see this picture and I just think this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. One of the more ridiculous things I've ever seen.
Well, Nancy, now you're being racist.
Yeah, right. That's Miss McKenzie did infer that, yes, I was racist because I criticized this. So anyway, I don't understand this picture at all. It's completely mind blowing. I think it's very sad. Yeah. So I became aware of that group because the founder, who was pictured in that picture, had spoken at my kid's elementary school, a private school, and they had invited her secretly, and gosh knows how much money. And I was like, well, I'm not paying tuition for this stuff. So I've been very aware of this anti-racist group for a while. And I know that Hillary McKenzie is also aware of them and had a child attend that group from her social media posts.
So what are we looking at here? Because this is the one you went and got the FOIA on.
Yeah, so I FOIA'd them to see if there were any email communications between the We Are and the members of the board. And sure enough, there were. In fact, the board of Orange County Schools came up with this equity policy. And part of that policy was they had to go to equity training as a board, or diversity training as a board, even though the board members already had been to other training themselves through Racial Equity Institute, et cetera. So their equity officer, Dina Keeling, gave them a couple choices. They chose We Are. Hillary had an email in there. Miss McKenzie had an email in there about how she liked the camp, her daughter went to the camp, et cetera. And
just to deconfuse, We Are is the name of a consultant group. So remember when I showed you guys this schematic of all of these groups that are making money hand over fist? We Are is the name of one of those groups.
It's an anti-racist education group based on critical race theory, because the founder herself says that she's a specialist in CRT and whiteness and white children's racial identity.
How much? Okay, so we're looking. Okay, sorry about that. So you see their logo up there, Nancy. How much did we pay? Now, so and we comes from 3 different places in this instance. It comes from your county commissioners, your property tax. It comes from the state and the feds. Mm-hmm. So how much was it?
So they said for the contract read for 6 hours of training was $2,000. So that's over $300 an hour of being trained in quote unquote equity, which is, according to their agenda printed there, included how to resist, or resistance timelines or something like that, how to be an activist for change, or how to use your board for change. Basically, activist-based methodology. I don't have the actual slides or information from the individual presentation, but there were also hours about implicit bias, et cetera, and systemic racism. So, I mean, I'm happy to tell people how racist they are for $300 an hour. If anyone wants to hire me, that's more than you make as a surgeon.
Why are we here?
Yeah.
What?
I don't know.
Why are we doing this? By the way, we're volunteers at this point.
You're
Yeah.
biased. Pay me.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. I'd be more than happy to do that. And
So the board went as a whole to this location where they have their We Are has its business, paid $2,000 for a 6-hour training session. Well, 7 hours including lunch, for a 6-hour session in anti-racist activism. And you might hear 2,000 think, oh, no big deal. But when you break it down for 6 hours, that's $300 plus an hour. That's unbelievable. Like I want to get the teacher listserv of Orange County and send out that, hey, guess what? They're paying this PhD who's a specialist in white children's racial identities over $300 an hour for her expertise. How many textbooks, how many free lunches, how many pencils, how many uniforms for an athletic team, how many supplies, how many lunch boxes can you buy kids? Like, I mean, teachers, what are they making an hour? And meanwhile, these are the same people making $300 an hour on this questionable theory stuff who are mandating like universal minimum wage and all of this stuff while they're raking in $300 an hour. So it's just, the hypocrisy is mind blowing. And I mean, I don't know what to say about it.
Yeah, so we're breaking this down for you guys. I mean, what this is spending taxpayer money for racial propaganda. It's taxpayer money for racial propaganda. These are the sort of things that the United States used to be very, very vocal against in the UN on the Human Rights Commission. When you're paying for money for racial propaganda, we know through history that usually leads to a genocide down the road, right? It leads to things that we don't ever want to see. And so again, the U.S. has been very, very taking the lead on this role within the UN, and we're actually doing it in the United States. This is a mass taxpayer-funded program of child abuse. I mean, you saw the picture just a second ago we put up there with a big old thing that says racism with a look first graders in there listening to this. It's absolute ridiculous, and it's nonsense.
And so, also proves that they're lying, because Hillary McKenzie has been on record, the president of the board, is saying, oh no, there's no CRT.
It's so critical. Yeah.
Well, then why is your board going to a specialist in CRT who's a specialist on whiteness, learning about implicit bias and activism, and paying them $300 an hour?
This is for the school board, correct?
Right, for the school board.
Right. So I want to make this distinction. The teachers have been hammered like hell on the inside, right? Getting these equity trainings. I mean, really, we're looking at Charlotte Mecklenburg. They've gotten diversity trainings to the exclusion of any other professional development for the entire school year. So if you're trying to onboard students who have had a hard time learning gaps, etc., they're training exclusively in that, right? And so again, the taxpayer money is going for that. And now we're actually training the board. I mean, this is beyond ridiculous. And again, I'm telling you guys right now, we have to have the let's roll mentality. We must storm the freaking cockpit. We have to divest and defund. Defund the police. They were big into that. We have to defund each and every single one of these programs. Because I'm telling you, once kids get back into school, once the masks come off, etc., you're looking at a very, very well-financed and well-trained group of teachers, now board members, ready, willing, and able to start teaching your kids racism, or worse yet, start to scapegoat, stereotype, and collectively punish them.
Yeah, and this is all part of a network. So the founder of that anti-racist organization that did training in Orange County schools is married to a person in Durham County schools who is like their chief equity officer or something. And he's been on panels with Freebird McKinney. They've all...
Who's Freebird McKinney?
So he's the legislative go-between between the State Board of Education and the NC General Assembly, and works at the DPI. Also, is elevated by Racial Equity Institute, another anti-racist organization, and James Ford's organization, and James Ford himself. Creed is also amplifying We Are. Right. And so they're all friends, and he's on the State Board of Education.
So, well, we've been talking again. Look, the second in command at the Department of Public Instruction, Jamie Falkenberry, his wife has 3 products that the state and the feds pay for, but I think it's mostly the state. I might be wrong. But his wife is a lobbyist for these products. And that means, you guys, if we are successful in rooting out critical race theory in North Carolina, and we will be, then he loses money out of his wallet and his wife loses money. Do you understand that special interest is controlling a lot of this stuff?
And they even say it out loud. Like I've said before, with the first introduction of Bill 324, which is the Civil Rights in Schools Bill protection that prevents scapegoating and everything in schools.
Yes.
Mr. or Representative Gaillard, if that's how you pronounce his name, came right out and said it's an anti-business bill. Yeah, it's an anti-business bill for these people because they can't teach their oppression matrices in their training sessions and therefore can't make $300 an hour.
That's why they're fighting so hard, Nancy. That's why they're fighting so hard.
Exactly. Holding taxpayers' money hostage because this isn't a real free market system. This isn't people going out there and demanding it. This is them with their spouses working in the education bureaucracy saying, let's put in this equity program. And, oh, by the way, you'll have to do training with my wife or my
wife's companies or
my best friend or my mentee from PhD school. It's an entire network, and they're forcing this on people behind people's backs. They'll lie to you right at your face, like Hillary McClinton did to the parents of OCS. She also had been part of an activist group called Hate Free Schools, which has bullied and doxed people in counties from running for school board if they happen to give donations to particular political candidates. And then they lie to you and think you're stupid and say, well, it's not actually here. And then if you bring it up and criticize it, like I did with Miss McKenzie.
You're a racist.
I was a racist. Yeah. Yep. I'm only going after certain colored people. I don't care if the person is purple. I mean, this is a waste of money. It's a waste of intelligence. I don't care if it's a guy, girl, whoever is doing it.
So I'm putting up on the screen too that we've been investigating for the last, I think it's been 2 months, this foreign funding. While we're talking about Orange County, I want to catch you guys up to date. Foreign funding of critical race theory. So last year, about the same time last year, a nonprofit, a very big foundation called Oak Foundation. So it's based in the Channel Islands, and they make their money in China. So this Oak Foundation, for some reason, paid Orange County to do these panorama surveys for them, right? They paid for that. And when we look into who Oak Foundation also paid, it would be the Board of Education, that's the State Board of Education, and James Ford, who is the most radical, hate-filled extremist on the State Board of Education, who's driving a lot of this. And so we're looking into this. We're trying to get the contracts to figure out who paid who. We intend to file an ethics complaint on James Ford. The stumbling block for us is that Catherine Truitt's Department of Instruction is hamstringing us because we're not getting the documents unless we pay thousands of dollars. We, the people, pay thousands of dollars. We're definitely not going to stop to do this. But there are a lot of people, I believe, with their hands in the cookie jar that's making copious amounts of money on this, maybe getting paid by foreign entities. I don't know, right? But we would like to find out. We want to know, look, we certainly don't want our school systems run by DC, number one. But absolutely, we don't want our school systems run by a foreign country, particularly one with China ties.
Yeah, and it's very frustrating. I mean, actually, I have to give some credit to the Orange County school system because my public records request was a little complicated, but they communicated with me, and they did. I mean, it took a few weeks, but it was a lot of stuff I asked for, and they got it to me. I have also asked for information from the NCDPI, and I'm not asking them every day. This was a first request from me to them, and it wasn't even half as much information as what I asked for from OCS. And they said they would charge me. I would need to pay over several hundred dollars for that information. And since then, I narrowed down my request even further. It's very minimal, and sent it in, and it's been about a week. I haven't heard anything. But the lack of transparency is really concerning, and they definitely don't want to hand that stuff out to anyone who potentially could criticize them.
Well, again, I mean, lots of money is being made, Nancy. I mean, look, you're talking about these contracts. I mean, you could technically, do 10 or 20 of those trainings in a year, and you've got a damn good business. And so, they're not stupid. They don't want to do this. And people that are lobbying, I mean, before we investigated this Falconberry claim, we had no earthly idea people were lobbying. It was just, I mean, we had no idea. But, the lobbyists are making big, big bucks. Again, they're being paid to influence these lobbyists and then cutting the people out. So the public's being lied to or charged for documents, and the lobbies are getting a payday up in Raleigh. It's got to come to an end.
Yeah. And the scary thing is with the revisit of 324 that I mentioned earlier about how it's an anti-business bill, and I really like that part of the bill because it would curb these anti-racist or these entities that use scapegoating and all of that from making their $300 an hour. And like the Ibram X Kendi issue in Charlotte, where he was paid gobs of money for like an hour. The redone version, if I read it correctly, it's the NCDPI gets to hold the power as to what kind of training and stuff the schools can and cannot do, or who they can hire as a consultant. So to me, it's a little bit of the fox guarding the hen house, because these people are already in the DPI. I mean, they're already buddies. So
let's back that up.
From them.
Right. Sorry. And so what you're saying, Nancy, is you and I mean, look, first of all, I've been a journalist for a very long time. The first and only time I've ever been charged for any documents has been with the North Carolina Department of Instruction, headed by Catherine Truitt. That is not a transparent organization. It's not right, and it's not proper. So this Bill 324, the anti-critical race theory bill, what it does is it leaves the Department of Instruction as the administrator for this particular bill. And now what that means is this: if you've got a training like what Nancy exposed in Orange County, if we've got the trainings in Charlotte, which we've exposed, we can no longer go to the district and say, hey, we need the documents. Parents, you can no longer go to the district and say, hey, we need to find out about the trainings. You must now go to the Department of Public Instruction. They are not giving us the documents for equity training. They're charging me $1,500. Nancy, they told you it would be at least several $100s. So they know that charging hundreds of dollars is going to keep the information about these nefarious trainings out of the hands of the people. These documents belong to the people. These people work for us. Again, it's time to roll, you guys. We cannot allow this.
On your website now, they're saying, even on their website, on where you go to request the public record, it's been a change since a month or two ago, where now they just say outright, due to the legislative policy for public records requests, if something, if they deem it is a lot of work or whatever, which is very subjective, they'll charge. So they're from the get-go, they're saying, be careful what you ask for, we're going to charge you. I find it, I don't know. It's
inappropriate. It's bad policy. Roger, you're exactly right. And if we're talking about, look, I mean, again, in North Carolina, here's the system, you guys. The legislature, right? They kind of oversee the schools. They've relinquished a lot of that power over the last 20 years. And they're letting an unelected bureaucrats in the appointed, for the most part, state school board come up with these policies. There's very little checks and balance. Even with this Bill 324, it has no teeth. It has no teeth. So there's no way to enforce this anti-critical race theory. But they've got the administrators, Roger's pointing this out, that are at the DPI level. Catherine Truitt has hired some of the most far-left radical progressives that you can imagine. So every single seat that's come up, she's put hardcore progressives in those seats. So the people that are administering these things, they're the farthest. They are the kind of people that would give these trainings. They have taken these trainings. We've exposed the people that she's hired has enthusiastically promoted these radical trainings.
Yeah.
So
you're proud of it.
And again, they're not transparent and they're not accountable. Let's roll. Not transparent, not accountable, not going to work.
Mm-mm. I think we need,
So,
yeah, just demand
so
more. I mean, I'm trying to get as much information as I can on a volunteer basis and figure it out and get information out there so that people know that this is really what's going on. Because even people I've talked to who are on the conservative side of the spectrum who know this is going on, but it may not be going on in their particular community or county, like they don't even understand how upsetting it is until they have it in their hands and see it, or it happened
absolutely.
to them
You know,
somewhere else, and then they see it, and it totally it affects, it will deeply affect them. So yeah, getting this information out and sharing it, and getting parents involved and asking questions and not to be intimidated.
no,
I hate how a lot of these academics and ideologues and even medical professionals are using their degrees to try to intimidate, and it works in a sense because there are a lot of people who don't have the degrees and don't want to butt heads, with someone with a bunch of letters after their name. When a lot of these people with the letters after their name live in a little academic bubble, and their whole life, their whole way of life, their whole salary depends on grants for these, you know, um,
right.
extremist theories, and they have to write towards those grants and speak towards those grants because that's how they make their $300 an hour.
So here's,
And the
yeah.
everyday person who actually, is a common sense kind of person and isn't experienced in these radical theories, because you don't really it's not an everyday kind of thing, get intimidated.
Well, so here's the deal: is that we've got, and I think really I want to centralize this for tonight. We've got a lot of people making a ton of money. They're all married to each other. They're former coworkers. They're buddies. It's a complete swamp, if you will.
Yes.
Okay, and there's a select few. And listen, there are only a few, right? But they are really trying to rule the entire public school system. That's the way it's going. Now, I know all of you guys are on the ground level. Stay at the ground level. Very, very important. But I'm going to tell you this right now. If conservatives won the school board, all the school board races when they're up, right? Victory, everything's great. They're non-radicals. They're rational. It doesn't matter to an extent with a lot of this stuff when you've got DPI chock full of 900 far left progressives. That's how many there are. And then you've got appointed people on the school board that are doing what they will. In other words, a lot of it is at the district level. A lot of it isn't. And people don't want you to know. So we have the money making that's going on. We just talked about that. I just highlighted that. And then we've got a culture of not being accountable at all whatsoever and not being transparent. That's the problem with the DPI. Again, I showed you guys, they are the piggy bank. They're the administrator. They're the enforcer. And they are determined to keep every bit of information about who's making money off this stuff out of our hands for sure and out of your hands. That is not going to work. We have to defund all this crap right here, right now. So we're going to have to start pushing back hard on the DPI. We need more transparency.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with Mr. Helms that they readily call you racist. I was called a racist by the chairwoman of the Orange County Board, essentially, because she had no arguments left once I was showing her all of the actually racist tweets coming from We Are, about saying how, should Black women even be friends with white women? And I'm like, this is who you're taking training from? And, immediately it was like, well, you're picking on this person because of the color.
Damn right we are. They work for us. Every one of these damn teachers work for us. This is our money. This is our children. Stop messing with people's children. That's the way it is. That's the way it's going to be. And so without getting into it, I'm just going to tell you guys, they're not who's they? They are not happy, Roger, at us either. They have come after us with some things we can't even tell you about. They're nasty and they're mean, but I don't give a damn. It is time to storm the proverbial cockpit, period, end of discussion. So we're going to be really on a tear for the next, I don't know, however long it takes to make sure that we force transparency out of the DPI. We will stop at nothing under the law to do that, right? We're going to make sure that the documents get into our hands and into any parent's hands that wants those documents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I would just recommend, make sure you have a good support network around you for those who are scared of being called or that it could affect your work situation. That's how I'm fortunately in a situation where I'm a little more independent, but I still need my support system, and I know who I am. I know what I've done. I know what I accomplished. I know what I stand for. So I could give a crap what the chairperson of Orange County wants to say about me. Plus, I can prove that she said it about 20 other people. So how many racists are there here? It loses its meaning, which is part of the problem, is that it loses its meaning, and it is upsetting for people who actually are suffering due to racist acts. They're downplaying it all, and they use it to manipulate people and use it to promote a narrative. And that's just what I wrote back. I said, this is ridiculous. This is a narrative that you want to promote. You've done it to several other people. I've seen it. You're lying. You're lying about CRT. I have the proof. And, see ya.
Again, we have to remember, this is Flight 93. Storming the cop. That is where we are. The country collectively is doing a nosedive. I think we all know that. I mean, you have to be kind of blind not to see that. What you're seeing on the outside of schools is going on the inside. How do we know? Copious amounts of teachers. I mean, we have literally hundreds of teachers across the state right now in our network, part of our movement. And I'm telling you, it is as bad outside of the school, or inside the school rather, as it is on the outside. What's going on is you've got the other side storming the cockpit. You've got good teachers leaving or trying to protect children. And then you've got these radical extremists who are emboldened by all this stuff. They know there's no transparency. They know there's not accountability. They're storming the freaking cockpit with our children inside. So that's what's going on. That's why we have to fight back. There is absolutely, at this point, zero excuse for parents not standing up and speaking out. Being called a racist, are you kidding me? That's nothing. That pales in comparison. We're talking about children, and we're talking about saving the country. So here's what we need. We need more help up at the state level. I'm going to be very, very honest with you. We need more people reaching out to their reps and telling them that the DPI cannot, they must not be charging citizens to get these documents. Can't do it. We need transparency. Parents deserve to know and need to know. Let me tell you something. We talked about this last week, Nancy. Catherine Truitt was in an interview. Concerned parents were asking her about CASEL, SEL, that's social emotional learning. Got some very, very disturbing stuff, age inappropriate stuff about sexuality in there. And it is pure, straight up stereotyping and racism. Caller called in and said, hey, if you don't do this at the state level, DPI, if you're not promoting this, why the heck is it still on your website? She actually said, what the question really is parents, why do you care if it's on the website?
Yeah.
The DPI is whatever they do have that's transparent and showing, they don't want you to look at. You're some kind of dummy if you look at it. And the stuff that's behind the walls that we need to see, they're not going to show you. Yeah. So we absolutely have to have more transparency. People are getting rich off this stuff. They're predators to our children.
Yeah, it was funny because if you follow along, like I've listened on some state board meetings and stuff throughout the summer. And at one point, she and Matthew Bristow Smith, the principal of the year advisor to the state board, former advisor, were talking about how wonderful they are and how the board is so transparent and people can trust them and all of this stuff. Then the next month, Catherine Truitt's on a radio program and they say, okay, we're looking at the website and it has all of this stuff. Well, why are you looking at that? Why are you believing what's on our website? Like, because you just told them how transparent you've been. I mean, it's just, it's a different answer for every situation. Nothing's consistent. Honestly, I think after this debacle with the pronouncements of UA mandates without involving parents and the blatant lying going on by the chairperson of the Orange County schools, blatant lying, proof now that they're paying people.
What is her name again, Nancy?
Hillary McKenzie.
All right.
She's an activist. She's been involved in Hate-Free Schools, which actually doxed and harassed a person in Chapel Hill who was running for school board in 2019. Right. She blatantly lied to parents about CRT when they're paying CRT scholars $300 an hour to go to those trainings.
I really saw that. Yeah.
I think the entire board should. I think she needs to resign for sure. I think the entire Orange County school board needs to resign. I think they all need to step down.
This
This
is a
is
shout out, by
ridiculous.
the way. This is a shout out to our Ed First Orange County group. Let me tell you what, unbelievable hearts like lions, these
Yeah.
people. They have been on the Chapel Hill School Board. Every move they make, Chris
Yep.
Roman, wherever you are, Amy Rosenthal, you guys are fantastic. They have been writing, they have been showing up. They will stop legally at nothing to hold these members into account. And I think that, I mean, I know that the reason why vaccines weren't going to be mandated is because the hell that was raised was like nothing you have ever seen by that group and another group, our group, and then another group. I would like to give them credit, but I don't know the name of them. But I'm telling you, concerned parents and citizens came out in force. You got to keep doing that. And again, lastly, and we're going to leave it at this, we have to go to the state level.
Yes.
We need your help. We need for you to let your reps know, or we need for you to call the DPI. It is unacceptable, right, for any of this documentation to be withheld. Now, we would say that to any school district. The problem is we're getting the data from all the school districts. We know what's going on pretty much in Charlotte. Wake County, they get the documents to us. Orange County, they get, so we're getting them from the district. We don't like what we see.
Yeah.
But we have a level of transparency. We don't have any from the DPI. And as you can see, they're getting copious amounts of money. They're asking for our money, state taxpayer money, asking for our money and not showing us what it's going to be used for. Unacceptable.
Yeah. And they take no responsibility for anything that is found, like with the governor's school. And trust me, it's way beyond the gender unicorn. I can't go into it to ensure confidentiality at this point, and I don't, because I don't want anyone to be traced by
We're in
the
the legal realm now.
But it is way, way worse than that one. It's not like it was just one teacher slipping in a little gender unicorn thing. I mean, it is way deeper than that and way worse. And this is something run by the NCDPI, and they don't even claim responsibility for any of that. So the state level absolutely needs to be hounded by concerned parents saying, what are you guys doing? Why do you guys deserve 56% of the budget and 1,000 employees if you can't even give parents, you know, some transcripts every once in a while without charging them a grand?
Yeah,
and they're all married to a lot of these local, you know, board level, district level anti-racist groups. They've got,
and again, the lobbyists for critical race theory products, okay, that is the wife of the second income or the right-hand man of Catherine Truitt.
Yeah.
So I want to say again, we have been complaining, raising hell, and exposing this guy, Jamie Falkenberry, working right next to Catherine Truitt, selling critical race theory products to pre-K. Let me tell you how bad this pre-K is that our state money funds. They're teaching parents that babies are racist at 6 months old and need intervention so that by the time the child gets to be 2 years old, they won't be racist in the playground. This is sickening. This is absurd. This is coming from an alleged Republican that is working right hand in hand with Catherine Truitt. He has to go. He has to go.
Yeah, I agree. They all have to go. Orange County School Board needs to resign. Hillary McKenzie needs to divorce herself from running school systems at this point. She's a proven liar. They're mishandling funds. They're paying friends of theirs or acquaintances of theirs to do activist work using taxpayer dollars.
We have to storm the cockpit. That means, look, is it too much to ask for a phone call? For the love of Pete, look at the sacrifice that a lot of others have given for this country. It's time that we step up and do our part. So, Suitor, we're going to end it at this. We need to go to state school board meetings. Yes, we do. The next one is coming up.
They're usually the first week of every month.
Are they? Okay. I was thinking there's going to be another one in August, though.
Oh, well, sometimes they have. The main one is over 2 days, and it is open to the public. You can just walk in and go. I did. Sometimes, though, they've been, with the COVID stuff, they've occasionally been virtual versus in person. So you would have to call. But I just called the NCDPI number or the State Board of Education number on the website before I went and just said, are you guys having this? And can I come in as a member of the public and listen? And they were like, yeah, sure. I don't know why you want to, because you can't comment. And I'm like, I don't care. I just want to listen, see.
Well, they need to see us there. And look, we're going to have
to. Will see you. They noticed me there. There were some people who noticed me there and his expressions changed. That's kind of
We're
entertaining.
persona non grata for. They literally have panic attacks. We've seen it happen. We've seen them lose it, and they'll do whatever they can to avoid us. And we take that as a badge of honor. We wear it as a badge of honor. We're not going to stop until we get to the bottom of foreign funding of all this stuff, till we crack the code of the DPI and find out where all that money is coming through. Again, they're a pass through. We want to know more information. So with that, we bid you good evening. I think we'll probably be Sunday or Monday night. We'll have something to talk about.
Hopefully tonight's won't be censored because we didn't talk about.
I hope tonight, yeah, we did one and we were pissed because did it at my house. Computer didn't work. I went all the way over to the office and then they took it down.
And they took it down the next day. And I didn't even think we said that much crazy stuff.
No. Wanted to, but didn't. All right, guys. Have a good night. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.